Hello everyone, welcome back to a Middle-Earth strategy battle game. Today's game is going to be Sherry versus Dave. Welcome back, Sherry. We haven't had a game with each other for a while. Sherry is going to be using Thranduil's Halls list, and Dave is going to be using Khazad-Dum, Kingdom of Khazad-Dum list again. And today is going to be 500 points. So Sherry's army is led by Thranduil himself, with heavy armor and an additional elven blade, so that basically increases his fight and attack value, and because he's on foot he has another attack again on top of that, so a lot of dice rolling for him. In his warband are 4 Mirkwood Elves with shields, 4 Mirkwood Elves with glaive, and 4 Mirkwood Elves with elven bow. Second warband is led by Thranduil, who can't ally with anyone because she's a hero of fortitude, and 10 Mirkwood Rangers, and also Thranduil has an elf bow as well. And that is Sherry's 500 point list of Halls of Thranduil. Here is Dave's army, led by Durin, the beast himself, and we have 6 Khazad Guard with him and 10 Dwarf Warriors. We have 4 with shield, 2 with double-handed axe, and 4 with dwarven bow. That's his warband, and he is the leader. Next warband is led by Martin, with 12 dwarf warriors, and we have 4 with shields, 4 with dwarf bow, and 4 with double-handed axes. So we have got a good mix of heavy infantry for the dwarves versus light infantry for the elves, but with very good fight value. So what we'll see today is probably the elves winning fights, but not wounding anything, and then the plucky dwarves slaughtering them if they do win a fight. So it'll be interesting, and we will have a look at what mission we're playing and the board before we start deploying. So today's mission is capture and control. For everyone who doesn't know this, it's like holding the objectives with a slight twist. So there's 5 objectives on the table, there's 1 in the centre, and then basically they're equidistant between the table edges. So all the objectives start neutral, and if a model ends its turn in base contact with it, it flips and it is under control of that player's. So then they can move on and it stays under their control until the opposing player does the same. And then at the end of the game we count up the total number of objectives each player has, with other criteria, so wounding the hero and breakpoints, and whoever gets the most points wins the game. And then if models are next to the objective and they're from different armies, it's a contested objective. So it'll be an interesting game. I'm not playing, so I'm going to have to keep my hand off dice today, which is going to be different, but I am here for rule queries from Dave and Sherry. So hopefully it'll be a good game, and I'll force them to shake each other's hands as is required for a war game, and we'll get back to you after we have deployed. So we are deployed. Thranduil's warband is pretty much by the centre line, ready to take this objective. Thranduil is over by here, and the dwarves have positioned their archers into the buildings. So the dwarves are playing like elves at the moment, trying to get their shots off with the bows. So this is Martin's warband all over here, and we have Durin's warband in this section here. So now we both, Dave and Sherry are going to roll a dice for the first turn of priority. So I'll grab a dice and give it a roll. Sherry's got a 6 and Dave's got a 6. So you roll them again. Sherry's got a 5 and Dave's got a 5, so we're rolling again.
Troublemakers, like. I know.
Sherry's got a 1 and Dave's got a 1, so we're rolling them again. 5, and we have done it. So Sherry has priority first turn. Before, as we're going into the movement phase, any heroics for movement at the moment? All fine. Okay, good. So we're going into Sherry's movement, and we'll have a little look at where everything ends up. So not a great deal of movement for the elves, more than the dwarves anyway. So Sherry has proceeded to put some elves onto the objective so they can flip over in the end phase. I can guess where this ranger is moving towards. The dwarves have done the same. In fact, all 2 movements of the dwarf warriors were to get on objectives. So there's basically one dwarf has moved onto here, and I'll run around the table to the next objective, that's by here. So now we're going into shooting. Any heroics? So Dave, one of your heroes can call a heroic shoot, so that would mean you'll be able to shoot before Sherry does, but it's a point of might and it's whether you want to do it or not, but it's an option.
No, it's okay.
Okay, so no heroics in the shoot phase, so Sherry will be shooting first with everything that hasn't moved more than half. So we'll get back to see if the elves manage to do anything. So the elves and dwarves have been letting arrows loose at each other. The tally is basically 2 elf rangers are dead and 1 dwarf warrior. It's quite difficult for dwarf warriors to be hit because they're in purpose-built fortifications, windows anyway, so it's quite tricky to hit them. Although the elves, if they are concealed or obstructed by terrain, they can't be seen by the elven cloaks. So that's tricky as well, but all the ones that were hit were in the open, and luckily all of Sherry's ones on the objectives have been safe. So we're going into the end phase, so basically Dave will be having this objective and the objective over there, and Sherry will be having the middle one and the one over here. So I'll flip them now and then we'll be rolling for priority. So in the end phase of this turn, the dwarves have 2 objectives, here and here. So total now is 4 points, but that's not counted until the end of the game. And the elves have 2 as well, the important middle one and here. So these now cannot be flipped to the evil side until a dwarf or elf over here, in this case, comes over and flips them. So now we're going into the priority phase, so both players are going to roll to see who gets priority this turn. So Sherry gets priority again. Any heroics from anyone in the movement phase?
No.
Okay, everyone's good, so we're going straight into Sherry's turn. So that concludes the movement phase. Sherry has managed to get 1 elf onto this objective, so as long as it doesn't get shot by dwarves. Doubt it will, because there will be obstruction, so it can't be seen because of the elf cloak. There's a small band of dwarves coming out of this gap in the wall, no doubt going for here or the central objective, so hopefully we'll get some combats at some point, and the rest of the dwarves over here shunted around to avoid being shot, or at least the big boys have anyway, but the guys looking through the windows may be at risk, but there's good protection there for them. So we're going into shooting. I'm guessing, Dave, you're not going to be calling heroic shoots or anything and wasting your might at this point. Okay, so elves will be shooting first, and I'll come back to see if there's any casualties. Here are all the casualties from shooting, this and a point of Thranduil's might, because Sherry used it to boost up a shoot roll but then failed the wound. So far the dwarves are winning the shooting battle with elves, which is interesting. So we're going to combat phase, there's none. So end phase, this objective is becoming Sherry's, so if you can pass me the objective thing. Swaps. So Sherry has this one. And now we both grab a dice because it's going to be priority phase again. 4 for Dave, 5 for Sherry. So Sherry's priority again. It's hard, isn't it, Dave? Any heroics from anyone? You fine? Okay, so no heroics from anyone, so the phase players is going to be like normal. So Sherry has movement first. So the elves are kind of digging in on their 3 objectives at the moment, while the dwarves are having to start to come out of their ruins. So the dwarves are going to make use of this little ford here. So what we've agreed is the river is difficult terrain because it's just a shallow stream, but the little fording points are just open. You can go across them, and the same with the bridge, obviously. And there's a few more dwarves sneaking out of this doorway over here as well. So the dwarves are being forced to come at the elves here. So since the dwarves are quite slow, it'll take a while. So hopefully we'll see some combats by turn 10. So we're going into shooting now. Well, there's no point calling heroic shoot with Marden because there's no archers near him. So I'm pretty sure you're happy just to take it on the chin for now, Dave.
Yeah.
Okay, so elves are shooting first. Hopefully they'll do better than last round. So let's see what happens. With the shooting, one dwarf warrior has died. This actually was the hardest one to hit since it was behind a wall. Everything else in the open, Sherry failed to wound. And the dwarves were unfortunately unable to find their mark or penetrate ranger armour, strangely enough this time. Yep. There is no objectives being flipped over this turn, so we're going into priority for next turn. So if you roll your dice, it goes to Dave easily. So I'll any heroics from you, Sherry? I don't think you need any. So that gets flipped for the first time this game. Movement this turn, the dwarves are continuing their journey to this objective, and there's more dwarves coming over here. The elves have remained stationary on the bridge, and there's some more armoured elves making their way over to this right flank. So we're going into shooting. You can do a heroic shoot if you wanted to, Sherry, but it's a point of might. You just get the shoot first, but just take it on the chin like Dave's been doing. And so Dave's shooting first. Hopefully you can drop a few of these rangers before they get too close, and then Sherry will be returning fire. So let's get back to you after this and see if anything happens. So even with fewer shots, the dwarves are still edging this shooting battle. Sherry is unable to hit. Well, she hit some stuff, but was unable to wound since it's pretty much sixes across the board for these elven arrows to penetrate dwarven armour, and these rangers are squidgy, really squidgy. So there's no combats again this turn, so we're going into priority. So everyone roll your dice. 5 for Dave, 3 for Sherry. So this evil priority again. That's for you.
Thank you.
Any heroics, Sherry, at all this turn? Any heroics from you, Dave?
No, it's okay.
Right, we're going straight up into evil movement. We have movement, and we will have a combat this turn. Just the one though. Sherry has stood off the dwarves, preferring to shoot at them rather than risking the rangers. So there's rangers moved back half to shoot, and some rangers are poking through the windows to shoot as well, and more elves. And Thranduil himself is actually moving over as well. And it's the same group of dwarves are moving again. This group of dwarves, accompanied by a couple of Khazad guards, are moving, and Marden and a small group of dwarves. The rest are going to garrison the objectives. So we're going into shooting, and Dave is shooting first, although there will be significantly less things to shoot at. So the shooting has resulted in 2 dwarves dead, and an elf, and also a point of might from Thranduil. That was used to bump a 5 to wound to a 6 to get rid of a dwarf. So basically the dwarves one was here, and one was on the bridge, and one of the elves also on this walkway over here. So still the dwarves edge in the shooting battle, and now we're going into combat. So we will record that since there is just the one. Right, we have combat here. We have a Merkwood Ranger and a Dwarf Warrior with a shield. Any special strikes from any of you? The only thing you can do, Sherry, is a feint, but your fight value will go down, which would make it harder. Dave, obviously you can piercing strike, or you can shield.
What is the difference again?
So shielding, we'll roll 2 dice, but so piercing striking is if you win, you go up +1 strength. But if you lose, your defense goes down D3, I think, off the top of my head.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it'd probably be best either to fight normally or to shield.
Normally then.
Okay, so it's just straight off roll off, 1 dice each. So Dave rolls a potentially cocked 5. Yeah, fine. So Dave wins the fight. So if Dave looks at his strength 3 against the defense 3 of the elf, it's going to which is going to be a 4. But re-rolling 1s for the army bonus.
Yep.
No. So this elf backs away 1 inch. So you'll have to move 2 of them. Yeah.
Okay.
So move here out of the way, and then yes, it's a little bit more. Okay. Still in contact with the objective though, so it's just contested at the moment. So that is the end of that turn. No objectives being flipped. So now we're going into priority. 5 for Dave, 6 for Sherry. So Sherry gets it. Any heroics?
Yeah. Actually, it doesn't really matter because Martin's kind of
Over here.
yeah.
Right, so
Wait a minute. Let me just see.
right, Dave's going to have some measuring before he decides. Just out a bit, maybe. Oh no, that one's in.
Yeah, go on then. I'll do that.
Okay, so heroic move with Martin, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, so colour a point of might off for Martin. Yeah. So we'll get back to you after this heroic move. So we have 3 combats this turn. So the dwarves used their heroic move to move up and engage this ranger, but then Sherry countered it by putting a spear support on and bringing some more armoured elves around. On the bridge, due to the width of the bridge, unfortunately the dwarves weren't really able to get around onto the elves, so Sherry's going to have to break up these 2 combats. But one of them's going to be a 2-on-1, and then one of them's going to be a 1-on-1 on Sherry's choice because she has priority. Thranduil isn't in, she's standing back at the moment. And the dwarves are starting to bring out another small contingent out of this other building over here. So we're going to shoot in, Sherry's shooting first, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, boy.
In the shooting, the dwarves have managed to down 2 more elves, and the elves have not been able to do any damage with arrows this turn, so the dwarves are really uncharacteristically dominating this archery duel with the elves at the moment. So it's going to be combat phase now, so we're not going to record any of this one, but I will do a summary of what happened. There were no casualties in this combat, so basically these elves got bounced by this dwarf. Same over here, these 2 elves fought this guy with a shield, he shielded and knocked him back. So luckily he now is contested, the objective isn't contested, it belongs to the dwarves. This ranger did beat back the Khazad-Dum but did not cause a wound. So now we're going into priority. Dave gets a 2, Sherry gets a 2, so Dave gets it because Sherry had it last turn. So any heroics from you, Sherry or Dave? Well, wait till Sherry sees one. No, so nothing from you?
No.
Okay, so basically we're going into standard movement phase.
Okay.
I forgot to mention, Dave took control of this objective as well last turn. So we have, I think, 7 combats this turn. So we have a lot of scrapping over for control of this objective, and on the bridge as well. This elf has come around over here, so he's going to be fighting across a barrier with this elf as well. Most important thing is it's in combat, so it's safe from arrows. Okay, so now we're going into shooting, and Dave will be firing first, and hopefully he'll be picking off a few more elves. Again, the dwarves edging the shooting battle. Another elf has been downed by dwarven arrows. Okay, so going into combat phase, there's no heroes in combat. There's a hero in support, so you could do a heroic strength. Shouldn't need it. You can't do a fight. So we'll do we'll record Martin's combat when we get to it, but the rest of it I'll just recap what happens. Right, so far we've had a little bounce. This dwarf beat these 2 elves. These 3 elves here managed to kill a dwarf, and this dwarf here managed to beat this elf. So now we're going into Martin's fight. So Dave has 2 dice, because Martin can only ever give 1 attack with support, and that's the same with every hero with a spear. So Dave is rolling 2 dice. I believe it's a tied fight value because Martin is fight 5. So Sherry has 1 dice and Dave has 2, and one of them is a different colour for Martin because he has might to spend. So roll them up. So which one was Marden, Dave?
This one was Marden.
Okay, so it is a tied fight. So you're rolling it. Now Sherry wins on a 3, 4, 5 and a 6. Because
so my fight value matches a Marden.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But normally, everyone, when there's a tie fight and a tie on the dice roll, 1, 2, 3 evil wins, 4, 5, 6 good wins. But because elves have elven made weapons, it's 1, 2 the evil wins, 3, 4, 5, 6 good wins. No. So good wins, and then it will be a 6 to wound. That is a no. So we'll do the rest of the combat and I'll recap what happened. Combat has resulted in 1 kill and it's a dwarf that's been killed. Over here there's just been a lot of bouncing around. The ranger had an additional attack because 2 dwarves went onto her. But she wasn't able to kill, and dwarves weren't able to kill the dwarves. So as we predicted, there's a lot of bouncing around. No objective have changed hands this turn, so we're going to priority again. Sherry's priority this time. Dave, any heroics?
Yeah, I'll have to do another heroic with Marden.
Okay, I think everything of yours, Sherry, is out for now. So colour a point of might off for Marden, and Marden will go into his movement, and we will get back to you after everyone has moved. So a lot more combat's happening again this turn. Everyone's pairing off over here. Thranduil still doesn't want to go across this alleyway yet, although he is. There's going to be some obstructed shots on him. Over here, the elves are trying to regain the bridge. One of these elves is being swamped by a group of dwarves, but she will get 3 additional attacks now, and that's the maximum she can get. So all Sherry needs to do is roll a 6. But Durin's turning up, so it's all going to kick off. Right, so we're going into shooting. Sherry shooting first. There's not many shots left for Sherry, but we'll see what happens. So, shooting, no one killed anything, so the dwarves have gone down to the level of competence of the elves at this point. So, combat, we will record Marden's fight, and we'll record this trapped ranger over here. So, Dave, are you going to do any heroics? So, the only heroic would probably be best for you would be a heroic combat, but it could backfire. But it's up to you. You could just fight with no heroics.
So heroic combat allows you to win a fight and move on to the next
Yeah.
fight, right?
Yeah, if you kill the person you're in base contact with.
And I lose a point of might.
Lose a point of might, and I think that'd be it for Marden, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I'll do that, actually. I'll go.
Okay, so Marden's burning another point of might.
Okay.
So that has to go first, because hero combats go first. If you have multiple, it's a roll off to see which one goes first.
Okay.
So, Marden has 2 dice, and Sherry has 2 dice, and Sherry will be fainting with the guy in the front. She is fainting because the fight value is kept at fight 5 for the elves. So the one that does drop in the fight value won't affect the fight because the highest fight value is the same. And Marden is fight 5, so it's a tied fight value here. So 2 dice each. Sherry gets a 4 and a 1, and Dave gets a 4 and a 2. So Sherry will be winning the combat on a 3, 4, 5 or a 6 because of the elven made weapons.
Okay.
Sherry is rolling because she's facing player. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
So Marden is strength what?
Marden is strength 4. Am I looking at the right place? Yeah, 4.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that will be a 5 to wound. 2 dice. 2 dice, yeah. So that's 1 wound. So Marden now gets a 5-inch move because he killed the person he was in base contact with. So if he had other people in that combat, they would be able to move as well, but it's just the one model that gets to move.
What I'm going to do is pop him there into this fight so he gets trapped.
Yeah, he is trapped at the moment, but it depends on the order of the combats. Okay, so we will do do that one when we get back to that one, and we'll also do the bridge combat as well. So we'll see what else happens. So we're into Marden's combat. Over here, these elves were unable to kill this dwarf, and this dwarf was unable to kill this ranger. So Dave has 2 dice, and Sherry has 1, although you can shield with an elven glaive, which means you get 2 dice, but you won't be able to wound if you win the combat.
Yeah, I'll do that, shield.
Right, so 2 dice each.
I get 4 dice now, because there's 2 other people attacking them. Or 3 dice at least, anyway.
No, because he's already fought. That dwarf there has already fought this turn.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Sherry gets 3 high, and Dave gets a 6. So this model is actually trapped. So Dave has 4 dice, and he is wounded on 5s, rerolling 1s. Yeah, it's fine. So that elf is dead. Okay, so we'll come back when we get to that bridge fight. In conclusion, this elf killed a dwarf. The elves trying to fight over the barrier were bounced by this dwarf warrior, and now we're doing the trapped elf fight. So the elf ranger has 4 dice, 1 normal and 3 for the 3 additional dwarves on it. So there's 4 dice for the dwarves and 4 dice for the elves. So the elf only needs a 6 to win the combat. So roly.
Oh, okay. What am I rolling?
4 dice, and Sherry's rolling 4 dice. So Sherry has 2 6s there, so it doesn't matter. So you need 6s to kill. Oh my lord! So that's 3 dead dwarves. So I played Sherry with elves before, with orcs, and I learnt after a few turns not to swamp rangers. So Sherry will pick now which ones she wants to kill, and then we'll go into the priority roll. So the combat has ended a bit better for Sherry thanks to that ranger being a boss. So it ended with 2 elves dying in combat and 4 dwarves dying in combat. So no one's broken yet. And now we're going into the priority phase. So, roll. Sherry gets a 3, Dave gets a 1. So, any heroics, obviously Marden's out, but Durin is got his full complement of mine. Although, you can re-roll your dice for priority based on what Durin's ability.
Okay.
But only once per game, yeah. Yep, so you got priority. So, Sherry, are you going to do any heroics at the moment?
Let's look. So can I do the same thing, or...?
Yeah, you can do the same thing, and then Dave would challenge. So basically, if you call it with Thranduil, everything within 6 inches of her gets to move now, but she has to move first or not move at all, but everything has to stay within 6 inches of her.
Oh, you know what, I think I'll leave her.
Okay, so we're just going into regular movement, and it's Dwarven priority. So as you can see, maxed out on the combats over here, with Thranduil deciding to come along. Over here, Thranduil's finally gets stuck in. She's on the bridge now fighting, and Durin's in as well. So he's on this ranger. The boss ranger that just killed 3 dwarves is about to meet their match. So the elves have no shooting this turn, and the dwarves do have some shots. None in this building can see anything, unfortunately. But we might as well record this. So we have 3 dwarves here that can see over the river at this not ranger, elf archer behind the barrier. So Dave needs 4s, and then 4s again. So he has 2 4s already, and then he needs 2 more 4s. And then he will need a 5 to kill. And he does it. These dwarven archers are amazing. So that is 1 elf down. So 2 more elves dead, and the elves are broken. And then after that we'll start rolling to see if the game ends. So for combats, any heroics from either of you?
I can't do anything with Marden, can I?
Nope, but Durin.
Durin. I will do a heroic combat with Durin, please.
Okay, so you're gonna do anything, Sherry? Are you happy with his?
Yeah.
Okay, so kill a point of might off for Durin, and you do the same. So we shall do that one first. So Durin is fight 6. So he has 3 dice. Dave is going to go two-handed because he has a master-crafted weapon, so it doesn't suffer any negative effect. And also Dave gets 1 re-roll because of Durin's axe as well. So roll your 3 dice, Dave, because if Dave gets a 6, he wins. He does get a 6. So what strength is Durin?
Durin is strength 4.
So that's 4 into a 4, requires a 4. So Dave needs 3s because he gets +1 from the double-handed axe. So this elf should die. Oh, it dies. So elf dead, and now
It's the boss elf.
yeah, the boss elf. Now Durin gets a 5-inch move, which will probably go into Thranduil, I'm guessing.
Yes. That is correct.
Right. So hopefully, Dave, you'll agree with me. Should we leave this one to the end of the combat?
Yeah.
Right. We shall leave this one to the end. We'll do everything else. We'll just recap everything else that's happened, and then it's quite a bit of a boss fight because I think they're all the same fight value.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll get back to you. Summarise a lot of bouncing around. A ranger did get killed by this dwarf here. Everything else just either won the fight and didn't wound anything. This dwarf is still smashing these elves back. And now we have the big one. Thranduil and Durin. So each have 3 dice, each on the same fight value. But Durin has got a little bit better abilities. So roll them up and see what we get. Alright, so Sherry's got a 4 high, Dave's got a 6 high, Thranduil only has 1 point of might, so Durin does win the combat. So what is Thranduil's defence, Sherry?
It is, give me 2 seconds, 5.
So Dave needs 4s to wound, because all the viewers, it's +1, so normally it would be 5s. So 3 dice needing 4s. So that's 2 wounds. You have fate, Sherry.
I'll do the 2 fate then.
You've got so you've got 3 fates. So you can roll as many as you want to get rid of it. So first fate point, pass. Next fate point, fails, but you got another point of fate as well.
Yeah, go on then.
No. So Thranduil loses all their fate and 1 wound. Okay, and now so basically that objective is currently contested because both of them are in contact with it. So now we have priority again.
Yeah.
Sherry gets it on a 6. Any heroics?
I will do a heroic with Durin again, please.
Heroic move, yeah?
Yeah.
Are you going to let that happen, Sherry, or are you just going to can't challenge it at all?
Nah, I'm not gonna bother.
Okay, so Durin's point of might got, so he's 1 left, so we'll do his movements and then we'll get back to the Dwarven heroics. Durin's having another go at Thranduil. This shield guy is still holding off the rangers on the end of the bridge, and we've got 2 dwarves on another ranger. Over here we have a trapped dwarf, and we have Thranduil finally getting into combat on Mardin with 2 more elves, and we also have a ranger on a dwarf, and we have some more dwarves are making their way into combat and to get after other objectives. Well, there's still a decent garrison left behind, so there will be no shooting this turn because everything that Sherry has is in combat, so no eligible targets. So we'll be going into combat, and when Dave gets back we're going to be seeing if there is any heroics. Right, going into combat, everyone, does anyone do any heroics? So basically I'm pretty sure Durin and Thranduil have heroic strike, so that means your fight value goes up. But obviously if one of you does it, both of you will end up doing it, unless you want to leave it with Durin and see if she actually wounds him, since he's got quite a lot.
Yeah, I'll leave it.
Yeah, do you want to call it?
Yeah, I'll call it, why not?
Okay, so Tara's going to do a heroic strike, so she loses all of her might gone now, so colour that out.
I'll do it as well, I'll match.
You're going to counter it. Okay.
What is the thing again? What happens?
So basically, you roll the dice, and your fight value goes up by goes up d6. So we'll leave that one to the end, and we'll also leave the increased fight values to the end as well. So we have a fair few combats. We will record Mardin's and Thranduil's combat. Should we all do that one first?
Yeah.
Go on then.
So Thranduil has 4 dice. So roll a different colour for him.
Do I have another gold around?
Yeah, you have another gold. You might as well feint with keep Thranduil the same. And then you've got 2 other dice coming in as well, and you will feint with them. So if Sherry rolls
Is there
first...
like a light green then?
Yeah, so if Sherry rolls first, if she gets a 6, she wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a 6. So what is Mardin's defense and what is Thranduil's strength value?
Mardin's defense is 7.
Strength is 4.
Okay, so Thranduil needs 6s and the other guys need 5s, re-rolling 1s. That, everyone, is because they get +1 to their wound roll when Thranduil's within 3 inches. So you crack on and roll that. So you do have 1 re-roll by here, needing a 5. So that is 1 wound. What you could do, Sherry, is burn up 2 points of might to kill Mardin. It's up to you.
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah, so 2 mites from Thranduil to bump a 4 to a 6, and we got a 5 off a reroll of a 1, so Mardin is dead. That's all combat's done, apart from Durin and Thranduil, who now will roll to see how far their fight values go up. So Sherry, your fight value for Thranduil goes up to 8, and Dave's Durin goes up to a maximum of 10. So Durin is still the higher fight value, so you both roll 3 dice each, and obviously if Durin rolls a 6, he wins the combat. Is that dice cocked?
4 high.
Yeah, so re-roll that 4. But, so highest Durin's got is a 3, highest Tara's got is a 4, but Durin has 1 re-roll.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, so Durin is defense 9 million. So basically, if we look at our sheet, Thranduil is strength 4. So Thranduil needs 6s by 4s to wound.
Okay.
So you got 3 dice and you need 6s and then 4s. No. So they just bounced off each other here, but most importantly in the end phase, that objective ticks over to the side of the good. Obviously, you've not broken into your starting phase, so we're not rolling this turn to see if the game ends. Okay, so that becomes a good objective now, and now we're rolling for priority. The dwarves have got priority. No one's going to be calling any heroics since Durin doesn't have any might left. Thranduil does have some might left, but there's no reason for him to call it since he won't get very far. So now we're going into movement, so I'll get back to you. This is where movement has ended up. Only 1 courage test was required with the Elves, and that was a Ranger, because Thranduil's a hero of legend. He can pass his first one. Because he did fail, and then I remembered that you can pass his first one. So he moved to here, and he basically grabbed this group of elves to stay around. So 4 of them have moved on to the dwarf who is stood on top of the objective. Thranduil is still fighting Durin over this last objective, and we have 1 ranger onto 2 dwarves, and 2 rangers onto 1 dwarf there. So again, no more shooting, so we're going into combat. There will be no heroics because no one has might who is in combat. So we'll leave the Thranduil Durin duel to last, and I'll record it, and then I'll just summarise what else has gone on. Combat, these elves have pushed this dwarf off the objective but weren't able to kill him. With another dwarf here, got bounced by some rangers who didn't kill him. And this Khazad guard and this dwarf warrior killed another ranger. So again, we have 3 dice each for Thranduil versus Durin, so roll them up. It's going to be a tied combat, so So statistically, I think Tariel's more likely to win this because of her Elven Made Blade. So roll them up. Durin gets a 6, Tariel gets a 5 high. So was it fours?
Yeah.
Fours to wound. Yeah, that's Tariel gone. She was trapped anyway. So in this end phase, we have this objective flipping to become a evil held one, and this one to become a good one. And now Dave, roll a dice. On a 1 and a 2, 1 or a 2, the game will end. Nope. Game continues, so we're going into phase, the priority phase, so both roll the dice for priority. 3 for Sherry, and a 6 for Dave. So it's evil priority again. So this is end of movement. An elf failed his courage test, so he's run away. Everything else was engaged in combat anyway, so he's stuck where it is. So there will be no shooting, so we'll go straight into combat. We'll record Thranduils 1, so should go quite well for the elves this one, and then we'll recap everything. Right, so far these elves have bounced a dwarf off the objective, and 2 rangers have been sorted over here. So now we have the fight here. So before I work out the attacks Sherry's rolling, Dave, do us a favour and roll a dice, because if you roll a 1 it doesn't matter.
It's fine.
Oh no, now we need to roll more dice. Right, so Sherry, you're rolling 4 dice for Thranduil,
Yeah.
and you're rolling
I got it.
2 more dice. So 4 plus 2.
Right.
Okay, so you might as well feint with Thranduil and another model, because your fight value will still be higher. So if you roll and just get a 6. Right, you do. So Thranduil will need 6s to kill. Yeah, so you got a kill there. Okay, so Dave is still phasing player. This objective doesn't change hands, so a 1 or 2, the game will end. Still continues, so now we're going into priority rolling. So Dave is going first. So Sherry, you do still have a point of might with Thranduil. Are you going to do any heroics, or are you just going to save the might?
I'm gonna save the might.
Okay, so I'll get back to you after movement. So here's combat so far. Movement. The dwarves have moved, pushed beyond the objective, and they're also pushing over to this one over here. And again, this guy has got stuck back into these elves. So since there's only 3 combats, you might as well roll for all of them. So Dave, which one do you want to do first?
I'll do the 3 on 1, alright?
Right, Sherry got 3 dice, so you're going to be fainting with 2 of them.
Okay.
Sherry gets a 6, so it'll be 6s to wound again, but re-rolling 1s on the fainting dice.
Right.
Nope. So
Oh, he's doing
again,
ideas.
backed away, and then there's a 1-on-1 there. Cherry wins, so a 6 will kill. Nope.
No.
And then we have 4 dice for Thranduil and a supporting one, so Thranduil might as well faint.
Okay.
Okay, and 1 more. No, that's it, 5. So she wins. So it'll be 6s for Thranduil, and it'll be 5s for the other guy, because he gets +1. But Thranduil gets 1 reroll.
1 reroll. Okay.
Nope, so this guy survives.
Doing good?
So now, Dave, roll 1 dice. And on a 1, 2, the game ends. Hooray! So, game is over. The dwarves have won, but by how much? So, the current score is the dwarves have 6, 7 points, because they have 3 objectives, which is 6, and they also have not broken, and the enemy force is broken, so that is 7, and the good side has 4 points. So the score is 7-4 to the dwarves.
Yeah, that was good.
So shake your hands, Well done, guys.
Well done.
Hope you enjoyed, and everyone please subscribe for more battle reports.